Hello everyone, I'm Atira Minuddin.
And I'm Zuhra Zulkifli, and we are co-hosting today's episode of Relatable, a talk show that engages on women empowerment and relatable issues concerning women in Malaysia and around the globe.
And today we have a really interesting topic that we're going to discuss, and it's about online safety for women. And as a social media user myself, I too have had quite a bad experience with the social media and with the receiving end of negative comments. How about you, Zura? Have you ever had an experience where you're like, this is not a safe environment for me?
Well, Afira, it is sad to say that I do have quite the same experience, but as a woman, we can agree ourselves that there's too many of this scenario happened to us, and currently I'm really scrolling through the memory lane, oh my god, I do remember one story. It was the most unpleasant and disgusting experience ever. And okay, but do you want to know though?
Yeah, of course. Our viewers would want to know what happened.
Wow, I've gotten the most unwanted and unwarranted picture slid into my DMs.
It's always the one who slits into the DMs. It's always those who slid into the DMs and doing the most unpleasant experience.
Yes,
and
Zafira.
I'm pretty sure, was it a nightmare to you?
Was it a nightmare? Is that even a question?
Yes, okay. So that's exactly what we're going to talk about today. We'll be talking about women and girls abuse in the digital sphere. And, for as long as I can remember, since I was a little girl, I've been taught about to stay safe and steer clear of danger. But now we also have to apply that same concept for online. And we're going to discuss that today with our two special guests.
Yes, that is right, Athira. And joining us here today is Content Forum Executive Director Mediha Mahmud, and also Make School a Safer Place advocate Ain Husniza Saiful Nizam. So hi and welcome to Relatable. So how are you guys doing today? How are you guys feeling today?
Hi.
Good, thank you.
How are you feeling?
Yeah, I just finished school. I'm really excited to be here and be joining in the conversation. I'm really excited to see what we might uncover, during our discussion.
Yes, don't hold back.
Yeah,
The show
don't
is
hold back.
where you can talk about just about anything. It's a safe space for women here.
Yeah, so let's get right into the discussion. Right. Okay, so we know that men, boys, women, girls can all experience incidents of online violence, right? So, but we can all agree that women and girls are considerably more likely to be victims of internet facilitated violence and are subjected to new forms of harassment like cybercrime and in the form of intimidation. So Mediha, why do you think this happens?
I think what we have to look at is the fact that women and girls have always been the victims of these things offline. So when we have the internet, it just brings it online. For example, Zura, your experience of getting an unsolicited picture. Even in the old days, we had people, I came from an all-girls school, and we always had this issue of strange men coming to flash us, right?
Wow.
So it's similar, the same thing. Those pictures are being sent to you in DMs. Similarly, stalking happens in real life, mostly to women and girls. So cyber stalking translates to it offline as well. And this is a problem because of the fact that gender-based violence, is how we call it, stems from so many factors. There's the political factors, there's the economic factors. And for example, when I talk about political factors, I'm talking about the fact that there is still not many women being represented in powerful positions, in parliament, for example, in boardrooms. So women are not there to give their say or have their voice in decisions that affect women. And for example, I can give you a situation. There are adult men out there who I know who are still not familiar with the women biology. So they don't know how periods work, what pregnancy is all about. Somebody even thought that we could control the flow of our period and just stop it whenever it's inconvenient. And these are the people that we expect to have policies on maternity leave, for example, on taxes on sanitary products. We need women in these positions in order to make these decisions and these policies. So hopefully in the future, women and girls will not be too exorbitantly represented as victims in such situations.
But Mediha, why do you think that online violence against women and girls often goes unpunished? Do you think it's related to patriarchal norms, since you said there are not enough women representation in powerful positions?
Yeah. I mean, to answer that question, yes, definitely. It's definitely related to patriarchal norms. This is something that's not unique to Malaysian society. It's in most countries. We started out with a male-dominated society, and the patriarchy comes from the term role of the father, for example, and it is where the males are expected to rule. They're seen as fit to rule. They make the decisions on economic, moral, social decisions, and in such a system, it's the women who are expected to just obey. You're not expected to defy or debate such situations, and it's this lack of a voice, this silence, this meekness that leads to people, and not just men, by the way, who succumb to the idea of patriarchy, but also some women as well. But I think we are moving towards lesser of such situations, because if you look at a few decades ago, traditionally people would expect doctors and lawyers and engineers to be male, the male-dominated profession, but that's no longer the case. So we're gradually improving. We're not quite there yet, but I think we're heading there.
We're getting there.
Yeah.
It's a slow but baby steps.
That's right. That's right.
So, Ain, your story of speaking up about against your former teacher for making sexual jokes in class captured the headlines of both locally and internationally. So, having been under the scrutiny from internet users, who have like different opinions, like some are on board with you about this, but also there are people that like some said that you made things worse, and some even said that you asked for it yourself. So can you share with us what it was like to experience the online scrutiny and the kind of harassment you faced online since the incident happened?
Okay, so basically the issue was I was talking about how this teacher mentioned really inappropriate things in class, and I was talking about how it shouldn't have been done by a teacher in class. I as a girl in class at that time should have been respected. And when I talked and brought that online, I expected for us to discuss about it. But then people started to focus on how I looked, on what I wore. And in the original case, I was discussing about, hey, we should respect girls.
Yes.
We shouldn't say these things in class. But then the comments proved exactly what I was talking about in the video.
Yeah.
So when people made those comments, I just realized, guys, this is exactly what I was talking about. So exactly what point are you trying to prove here? And it really shocked me on the fact that when I brought it up, I also thought that, hey, I don't think this is something normal that should be happening in our classroom. But the comments I got was that, oh, it's normal for male teachers to be like this. It's normal for PJ teachers to say these sort of things. So these issues actually weren't something that just happened last year to me, but something that has been happening for a long time in our education system. But why has no one brought it up? Why has no one pointed it out? But even if someone has pointed it up, we as a society has collectively successfully shut these victims down.
Yes.
And that was from the way of so much of the intimidation that I got, whether it be from the school, whether it be from society itself. And it's really scary because when I talked about it, I also got multiple, hundreds of direct messages to me telling me about, Ain, I also went through the same thing. I actually got expelled for it. And this really shows the culture of silence that we keep in our schools rather than actually solving the issue.
Were you taken aback when you said the response were like, oh, this is normal. Were you taken aback by those kind of response?
For me, when you say that it's normal, it just shows how more important it is for change to actually happen.
Yeah, I think people need to know that where's the line of normal and common. I mean, that is common, but it's not like definitely not normal.
Yeah, it's not normal. It's not supposed to be normal. And also in another incident, you posted on your Instagram account wearing a black outfit. Now, I'm pretty sure you know which one. We also know which one. However, it was met with multiple rape threats and even a discussion about you on a popular forum space. The notion of victim blaming, that one should be ready to face whatever consequences when they post something online. You know, this victim blaming scenario, and you said you got backlash from speaking up about the problem. What is your take on that, Ain?
My take on it is that people love to project this idea of a perfect victim, especially on a woman. You have to be wearing certain things to be accepted as the perfect victim. Now you're a perfect victim. Now you can actually have the blame be taken away from you and put on the actual predator. You know, they always try to idolize the victim and try to say, oh, you need to be a certain way, you need to act a certain way, and only then will the blame on the victim be absolved. So for me, when that happened to me, I was, and actually at that time I wasn't even talking about anything. I just posted a picture, and it just shows, and it's actually part of the reason why I continue my advocacy, because as more of those things seem to happen, it just shows that there is something that's needed to be done. And I want to really bring awareness to people that these things are actually happening to our girls. And I believe that those kind of things, oh, a girl posting a picture and being victim blamed, being sexualized online, is not something uncommon. It happens to thousands of girls out there every single day. But it happened to me, someone that people might care a bit. But if it really brings awareness to how this thing is, it brings discussion. And for me, I believe for change to happen, discussion needs to begin. It needs to begin with discussion.
Yeah.
Yeah, so like contrary to Ain herself, like Ain knows what she's doing. She knows what's right, what's wrong.
Yes.
But we do have like women and girls out there that that couldn't speak up for themselves. So like these women and girls, they could like suffer very like real consequences from violence in the digital sphere. So like Madiha, how can this kind of like online abuse affect someone in the real world?
I think Ayn would be best at explaining that. But I think what I can say is when we talk about bullying and we look at the old days, when you're bullied in a playground, sorry, when you're bullied in a playground, the experience is limited to the playground. But when you're bullied on the internet, you have witnesses beyond the border. You have people who are perfect strangers who have seen you being shamed and the pain that you have to go through. So I think that is one of the biggest difference between suffering as a victim in real life and on the internet. Maybe pass to Ayn while I recover.
Take a sip of water. Take a sip of water.
Yeah.
So
Ayn, what's your take
Ayn.
on that?
I understand what Ms. Mediha was trying to bring. It's because when you're online, you're being publicly shamed.
Yeah.
And people can dogpile on it. People can,
That's right.
from 10 quote tweets, it becomes hundreds of quote tweets.
Exactly.
It becomes thousands. So, like, it really, and then people are somewhat desensitized to all of these, aggressiveness online. They think it matters less than when it is in real life. I mean, I can tell you, like, the amount of times I've been harassed online is literally uncountable. But the times I've been harassed in real life, would they be brave enough to say
No.
that to me in real life? No, they wouldn't. They wouldn't even be able to come out here and tell me what they're thinking. But because it's online, they think it's okay. They
These
think it's
keyboard warriors,
Yeah.
the term keyboard warriors. And also recently, a teenage actress made shocking revelations on sexual abuse by her own father through a podcast on YouTube. While some stood alongside her decision to open up about her dark past, others condemned her for choosing the platform to tell her story. I'm pretty sure it's a similar scenario to you, Ayn. If we continue to condemn women or girls who use the online space to speak up for themselves, surely we are silencing them, limiting their right to express themselves freely. So what do you think are the long-term impact on this, Mediha?
I think for that particular situation, we need to look at two things. Number one, yes, we should never silence victims. They should be able to speak about their experiences without the backlash of victim blaming. But at the same time, we also need to be careful because in this situation, this person was a teenager, a child. There are laws that are against us exploiting children, especially their experience in a criminal matter for content or clout. So there needs to be some balance in that as well. But to answer your question, I think whenever people say, oh, if you've gone through such an experience, you've been publicly shamed, then you should probably go offline. If people are being cyberbullied, they say, just switch off the computer, you'll be fine. But that's not fair. Because what that does is that you are protecting the internet space for the bullies, but you're asking the victims to be silenced and step away. And that's not the way we should do things. So I think in such situations, assuming the context is something that is within the realm of what's legal, we should continue to allow people to speak up. Ayn was right in what she did. She spoke up and she faced the attacks. Some people may not have been as brave as her and pursued the advocacy that you've done. Well done. It shouldn't stop her from doing whatever else she wants to do. Those comments are going to be on the internet forever. The body shaming, the face shaming. But everything else there that's good from what she's doing is also there. And it really shouldn't stop her from going into, for example, if you want to go into politics or if you want to take a leadership position, these things should not be a detracting factor from you achieving that kind of success. So no, we should not silence girls or women when they're telling their stories. All stories need to be heard.
Also, Ayn, I'm curious now that since I have the opportunity to ask, since you experience all the hate comments, harassment online, have you ever have the fear of going out to the public?
Yes, I think I went through a bout of about 4 months or so. Wait, it was even longer. And at that time, I was too scared to go outside. I was at some certain moment of time, I thought I saw that teacher.
Oh no.
It became like that. I was afraid that I saw him somewhere, that I saw him in that area or something. So I was very wary. But if I can add something to like what Ms. Madiha said earlier, I think it's good that we're encouraging for victims and survivors to voice out on their issues and what they went through online. But the repercussions that come with it, But unfortunately, as me myself, what I went through and I voiced out on it, I feel like when I went to how people you say, the right channels, right outlets. Oh, go to the right outlet, go to the right channels. I did, but I still didn't get the right response as I would have compared to when I went online.
Yeah.
But the thing is, I wouldn't wish on any other girl that is a victim to need to go through the same kind of, I need to viral myself and only then will I be able to get the justice that I rightfully deserve. These channels, we have these right channels, but they aren't working. Why aren't they working? And we need to really solve that because I think what happened with that child actor is really sad because she needs to expose herself to the scrutiny of the public, of people making discussions on her trauma,
True.
And we've even heard, not even talking about girls, we've saw these little children being exploited so that their abuse can be taken seriously. But why isn't their abuse or our abuse as women being taken seriously when it's not being publicized or used for content?
That's right.
Yeah, I can't imagine being in her position, Zura. Okay.
So, we recently with the anti-sexual harassment bill was passed in July, while the anti-stalking bill was passed unanimously in Parliament earlier this month on October 3rd. So, how do you think these bills can help, in boosting women's safety in the digital sphere?
I think that addresses a gap in the law. There was a problem because if you went to make a report about being stalked, more often than not, the authorities feel that their hands are tied because you're only being stalked. There's no physical assault. Just lock your doors and that's it.
Yeah.
But with this anti-stalking bill, thankfully the Parliament passed it unanimously. It's given the authorities some power to actually act on stalking. So it's not just you don't need to have the stalker actually do something to hurt you first before they take action. But again, with any laws that are in place, it's all about how it's going to be implemented. Like Ayn says, there are right channels out there, but if the people behind the right channels are not implementing the laws or doing what they're supposed to be doing the right way, then it's just a token, right? And I think that boils down to how women are perceived. If you make a report and people still have some sort of a patriarchal mindset, they often think you shouldn't have worn that, or why did you go out walking at night, or kenapa layan, stuff like that. So at the end of the day, when you make the report, you are somehow being interrogated, you are somehow being victim blamed, and that's the kind of mindset that we need to change first before these right channels, before this legislation can actually be effective.
Yes, true.
Yeah, that's true, because like there are cases out there where people are first targeted online,
Yeah.
and much later they were harassed and stalked physically. And one of the example that I could think of is the South Korea
South
case. We
Korean
just talked
girl.
about it just before the show, because I wasn't completely aware about what happened with the woman in South Korea, where she was murdered
Yeah, she was
by
murdered in
her stalker, and also a local influencer. I followed this one local influencer, Wanur Shaira. She has quite a big following, and recently she shared her story about how a man stalked her online and then physically showed up at her office, and that was very, very scary.
saddening,
Yeah, and it made me think, is someone stalking me? And I become paranoid. And I wasn't even part of the situation, and I became paranoid. And we're gonna dive deeper into that kind of cases also right after this commercial break. And stay tuned, and we'll be right back.
Hi, my name is Mohaini Mahmoud, and I'm the co-founder of Kido Care. It's natural that people fear what they don't know. You know, back then in 2018, when we first started, we were an online babysitting platform, and it was something so unfamiliar to most people. People are so used to the old model of engaging babysitters, pengasuh, People were used to the idea of a live-in maid, a live-in helper, someone who lives in your household to take care of your children. In 2018, we came up with the idea of, a stranger, another woman coming to your house to take care of your children just for a few hours, and then after the service is done, that person leaves.
The first basic understanding of pouring the art latte, the milk into the cup, is first step you need to put it higher, so let's swirl it. Whether you swirl the pitcher, you swing the pitcher or the cup, it's up to you, so that the milk and espresso will be level, will be balanced.
So here I go, pulling it up.
Then bend a bit of the cup.
Okay.
My name is Azrul Hanafi bin Rauzan. I'm basically the co-founder of Limuka Coffee. The idea of starting this Limuka Coffee, a cafe shop, started during MCO, where I lose my job. And that's when I discussed with my brother and my sisters, my siblings, that we need to do something so that there will be income for the family and also the siblings. The idea of choosing the bike cafe beside of our father shop is because we've been thinking of continuing the legacy of our parents' business.
My name is Renuka. I'm a working mom. I run a training and coaching business, and I've been a long-term user of Kido Care. And I think I'm also like strongly recommending my friends who are also in the same boat as I am, business owners who really don't have time. I think this is a very good alternative.
Hello and welcome tuning in to Relatable. On today's episode, we're going to discuss about women and girls abuse in the digital sphere. And we were quite in depth with the topic. Things were getting heat up, and while we're talking about things are heating up, elections are happening soon, and there is hope for positive change in the country. And Madiha, we want to know, like, how do you think policies and politicians can help create a safer space for women online?
If they have the if they have the niyat, they then have the power. They can institute the change. Policies are made by decision makers, and if we have the right decision makers in there to make these changes, if they know not just, I'm trying to be kind here, but if they understand the need to protect women and girls in these positions, they know the policies that they need to make, the laws that they need to enact, and it's not just a token law. It's not just to look good. It's something that's actually can be implemented and effected. Then we're in good hands. And I would always say that we need more women represented in the parliament, because we assume that women are the ones who are going to uphold the protection of women's rights. But if we have men to do the same, great. And if hopefully we don't have women who are there in that position but not taking that role for the women and voicing the needs that we have. So yeah, it all depends on the individuals who actually take on that power and take on that position. How far can they go? How far will they go? So that's something that we shall see.
And Ayn, as for you, what do you think the policies can help create a safer space for women online?
Policies are definitely one of the most like basic things. They provide law. They provide how should I say? They provide terminology for us to lean on. So what is actually sexual assault? What is sexual harassment? So this is actually really important, and especially one of the things that I've been advocating for is for us to have these policies not only in parliament level but also in schools specifically, which is so that these teachers know exactly what to do when there's victims. But the thing is with policies, I'm really hoping that not only for us to draft policies that is good for the people, but for us to really understand what's on the ground zero. So what we can do to implement it better. So it's not only on paper, oh yeah, sure, we list so much good things that it might help us, but actually in action, and with victims, it doesn't help anything. And I do think because as of right now, my personal experience as a victim, when I go to the police station, or there's numerous stories from survivors that go to police station and their story gets denied. And sometimes it's actual rape, actual assault, and we know we already have a law for that. We know we already have a policy for that. So why is those issues that we already know is serious? It's not even something that's vague like sexual harassment. It's something like rape. But these victims are still not getting the justice they deserve in police stations, in the ground zero. And we already have a policy. So exactly what are we not acknowledging here? So that's why it needs to go hand in hand. When policymakers are making and drafting policies, they don't only, think of what's going on top, but also what's going beneath everything.
Yeah, so with everything that's been going on, with all of the policies, numbers of policies, being brought up, but nothing really changed, So what will be your tips for women, mostly girls, online? How would you advise them to take precautionary measures in ensuring their own safety in the digital sphere?
Unfortunately, that's kind of a hard question to answer, because no matter how much precautionary measures we take, we still get unsolicited, messages online, pictures and things like that. So really, I feel like it's enough of putting the responsibility on the victim on ensuring how to keep myself safe, but really on society, on how do we keep our girls safe? How do we respect them and not cross their boundaries? Because if the thing is, no matter how much you take care of yourself, if someone wants to hurt you and someone will go to that level to hurt you, then how are we going to keep ourselves safe?
True.
Just like the South Korea case that we mentioned, how the woman was being stalked by someone who was from her school and stalked her until her university, and she was working, and then turns out the guy came up to her and say, "Hey, I like you," and the girl was like, "Okay."
The girl wasn't having it.
Yes.
Yeah, and ended up the guy killed her
And it was this is what we want to avoid with this kind of situation. And as you mentioned earlier, Ain, we need to basically educate the society on what is sexual assault and what is rape. It's just a word, but some people don't understand the context of the word and how big of a scale it is. And Madiha, how do you think, how early should we educate maybe the future generation on this kind of situation, because it happens daily, and not just in Malaysia, not just to you, Ayan, to thousands of girls out there and around the globe as well.
I think a lot of subjects that are considered taboo can be addressed by parents and guardians to their children, but age appropriately, right? So topics like, rape, for example, about keeping yourself safe, about being safe online, about the fact that there are predators online. All kids that we know of nowadays are digital natives, and you can't expect them to go online without telling them of the bad people out there who might be doing things to them. So we need to have such conversations. And I think I'd just like to tag on to what Ayn was saying about how we shouldn't just put the responsibility on women, how to take care of yourself. We all know how to take care of ourselves, right? We all know, you block, you unfollow, you mute. You can do all of that, right?
You blocked that.
Yeah, I blocked.
You blocked him, right? Okay.
Yeah, but we also need to make sure society online also knows what to do to help us. Like when Ayn was being attacked by people, where are the people who are there to protect her?
Yeah.
We can see, when we see, let's say for example, we see a user targeting her and harassing her, we use the report function. The more people who report about a user, the less likely that they can harass again. So it's a concerted effort by everyone in society. It's something that all of us should actually play a role in.
Yeah, we should all really come together, although there are some parts there were victim blaming, but I'm pretty sure we can negate around the situation.
It's also dialogue, I think.
Yeah.
Because in the past, rape jokes were common.
Yes.
If you watch certain
very
comedy
gross.
shows.
Yeah.
And even if you're hanging out at Mamat somewhere, some dude is gonna make a really offensive joke. And then
Yes.
we're here cringing and pretending to laugh when we're actually feeling uncomfortable. But people know now that we can say that wasn't funny.
Yes.
We can call them out for it. And it's a change, but it's a change that can come from all of us in all situations, online and offline.
But sometimes I do feel like, is it safe to say I'm not
Yeah.
comfortable with
Yeah,
that? You
yeah,
feel like
that's true.
threatened,
That's
although
true.
that
Because you
do
feel
not-
intimidated when a
Yes.
guy does that.
And
That's
it's a
true.
really difficult situation. And lucky for you, Ayn, you have the courage to
Yeah.
speak up. And as you said, a lot of women and girls came up to you and slid into your DMs appropriately, telling you their side of the story. And what are your hopes for changes to be further implemented in order to protect women's safety in the online space?
I hope that we can actually realize as collectively that the kind of words you say online actually hurts as much as it were to be to me face to face. But it would not have been said to me if it was not online. And I hope that people realize how much of an impact, and we stop normalizing these kind of attitude towards women, especially online. And I think that because it's always just about women feeling unsafe, women feeling scared, and like your question earlier about the precautionary measures that we need to take. We've been drilled into our heads since we were children, since we were babies. Don't go out at night. Don't go hang out with weird people. But it's always just been, because you're a girl, so you can do this and that.
Yes.
So when I tell you all these precautionary measures, actually, aren't these all like precautionary measures that you've known since you were a child, especially if you were a girl? So really, so I want to change something. I want to make people aware that this is not the behavior that we need to keep in, and move forward collectively as a society. We need to stop, because actually it was so bad for me to see those kind of things. If I were not being insulted, I was being sexualized. And thinking, oh my god, like for me to go through all of that, I wouldn't wish it on any other girl. But what if there was another girl like me that went through something and she needed some exposure to finally get the justice she deserved? Would she also go through the same thing that I did? So it's really, I really hope for us to not only change in society, but also maybe for our policymakers to draft something
Yeah.
that make it, or if you say something towards me online, I can take legal action towards it and perhaps report it to the police station and have it taken seriously
Yeah.
by me, not to just report it to the police
Yeah.
and,
And nothing
nothing happens.
I think I could just add to that. One
Yeah.
of the things that we've done at the Content Forum, we've just revamped the content code. So we've added a provision that makes it, well, that prohibits anyone from inciting online abuse and gender-based violence. So if you see something like this, you can report it to us. And it's also done because we've seen that there is a really high number of people who are experiencing exactly what Ayan has been experiencing, and we need to take action about it. So yeah, and everybody in every role that you have in society, whether it's in your organization or you as a person, you have a role to play in making sure that this is upheld.
All right. Thank you so much for the insightful sharing, Mediha and Ain. I'm pretty sure it was an unpleasant experience, but I'm really happy and really proud that you spoke up on the issue. It's been such an eye-opener, and I hope our audience today gained useful information from our conversation today. It was very fruitful, right, for you, Zura?
Yes,
What do you
yes,
think?
absolutely, Athira. It was very fruitful, and I hope that from today's episode of Relatable, we've helped maybe at least some of the girls that probably have been, the victim of abuse in the digital sphere. And yeah, I hope that even we got a fruitful, outcome from this
Yes.
discussion. And I hope that the audience at wherever you're watching this from got a pretty useful
Information that could help
too.
you, and I hope all the girls and women out there who are watching, don't be afraid to speak up if
Yeah.
something makes you uncomfortable. Whoever, some stranger sliding into your DMs, just block. That's the reason for the block button there. And thank you so much for staying with us towards the until the end of the show. And before we wrap this up, don't forget to follow us on all of our social media platforms, Sinar Daily MY. And if you want the latest news, log on to our portal, www.sinardaily.my. I'm Atira Minuddin.
And I'm Zuhra Zulkifli, and we
And
will see you
In the next,
in the next
episode.
episode.
Thank you so much for tuning in.